Hello and welcome to this Club Zone update video. This time I'm going to be exploring how clubs can make sure they've got the right insurance cover in place for any on the water or shoreside winter activities or winterization if you're closing up for a few months. Now, there's no doubt that there's still a huge demand to get afloat. We don't want clubs to shut the doors just yet, or indeed at all. And we know that clubs have welcomed around 37,000 people who've joined clubs this year. So keeping them engaged and hopefully active over the winter is more important than ever before if we're going to hang on to these members in 2022 and beyond. Now, to help with this topic, I'm once again joined by Ben Bennett from our insurance partners Gallagher. So welcome along, Ben.
Thank you.
So Ben, let's get stuck into this. Now, we're aware that a greater number of clubs than ever before are extending their calendars into the winter period, which is something that we would absolutely support. And a good number, in fact, operating all year round. But what should these clubs be aware of from an insurance perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so firstly, it's commonly recognised that clubs are obviously extending their sailing seasons now. As you say, some actually going all through the year, which is fantastic. And we at Gallagher always look to kind of accommodate those needs, whilst at the same time trying to balance that with the requirements of the insurers. It's really important to be aware that the vast majority of insurers will apply a condition to the policy, which is effectively what we call a winter removal condition, that requires boats to be removed from the water when not in use during the periods of from the 1st of November through to the 31st of March. Okay. And that's a fairly standard condition.
Yeah, okay. So does that condition relate to the use of boats during the winter period entirely?
No, it's important to stress that we're only referring to boats being left on the water when not in use. So, for example, overnight during those winter periods, so 1st of November through to the 31st of March. Not in respect of those boats which are obviously launched and recovered for each event on a daily basis. There's absolutely no issue at all in that commissioning period. It's only really relating to those boats that are kept on water when not in use.
Yeah, good. Okay, understood. That makes sense. So if that's the case, what are the options for clubs in seeking allowance from insurance to operate during this period?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, we'd recommend that clubs discuss and review their individual situations with their own respective insurance providers. Obviously, I can talk about what we offer as Gallagher, and all Gallagher policyholders will simply just need to provide details to us, of which needs to sort of contain detail around which boats are likely to require cover whilst left on the water when not in use, mooring location, mooring details, and the periods for which this additional cover or extended cover, should I say, will be required. On receipt of that information, we would simply discuss the individual case-by-case situations with insurers, and they'll evaluate and usually seek to apply an increased excess in respect of claims occurring during these winter months. In recognition, really, of the increased storm risk, increased damage risk to boats on the water during those periods, rather than looking to effectively apply increases in premium. So generally, it's not an increased premium that you'll find; it's an increased excess for claims arising during that period. So that's kind of how it generally works. We then simply just endorse the policy. Just to note that the condition that sits in the policy wording as standard is effectively removed and replaced with an alternative form of words in respect of those boats that need the extended cover.
Okay. We mentioned risk there. What are the main concerns or issues that insurers might consider to be high risk inquiries relating to boat cover during these winter months that we're moving into now?
Yeah, really good question. Insurers will always look to clubs to adopt a common sense approach and manage the risk accordingly in respect of mooring boats on moorings during the winter period. Obviously, there's a greater risk of inclement weather, which obviously is the big concern for insurers. Firstly, I guess it's fair to say that clubs who operate within sort of inland waterways, lakes and reservoirs around the UK are likely to receive a bit less scrutiny from underwriters around the subject of winter storms. Obviously, coastal locations are likely to be more exposed, and therefore insurers will look at those risks individually in a little bit more detail. In addition, insurers will always prefer to see mooring of boats in a sheltered area. So, marina, harbour, pontoon berth, typically would obviously be far more preferable to insurers than a swinging mooring, for example. So really just emphasising the need to try and sort of minimise risk, whilst at the same time, from an operational point of view, not causing clubs too much of a difficulty there.
Sure. It sounds from what you're saying like clubs shouldn't automatically assume that it's not possible to gain insurance to carry on winter activities. So that's really positive. I was just thinking, so given what we've just been discussing so far, would you at Gallagher recommend to clubs that they investigate their own individual policy conditions and requirements if they're looking at pushing on into the winter months with their activity?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. There is a need for every club to just double check with their insurers, their insurance providers, whether that's Gallagher, ourselves, or any other provider. We'll always adopt a common sense approach to this at Gallagher, as I've said already. And really our partner insurers will always look to work with clubs to ensure that the activity and participation during those winter periods is maximised sort of throughout the year now, as is the requirement of our clubs, whilst ensuring that the risk exposures are fully recognised and evaluated by insurers at the same time. So it's a bit of a fine balance, but definitely, our advice would be don't assume that you are or are not permitted to use boats during the winter. Always double check with your insurers and get their sort of stamp of approval.
Fantastic. Great. Ben, thanks for your time as always. And if anyone's got any further questions or wants advice regarding insurance, do contact Ben and the Gallagher team. We'll make sure that their details are at the bottom of the screen. And of course, the other option is to get in touch with the RYA legal team by emailing legal@rya.org.uk. Ben, thanks again for your time. That's all from us. Stay safe and have fun on the water. Thanks, everyone.